Welcome to Pointless Witticisms, the audio thing where I have 9 minutes and 47 seconds to adequately explain to you what a given thing is. Today's thing is Anomaly, a film that, conveniently enough, is the reason why we're doing the whole 9 minutes and 47 seconds thing rather than any other period of time. Now, the important question to note about today's episode is, have you ever thought that that guy from Doctor Who would make a good director? Anomaly is a 2016 film, and the second film that I've watched that was directed by Noel Clarke. He is a British director, producer, actor, best known for being that guy from Doctor Who, having been a supporting character during Russell T Davies' time in charge of the show, and the first black companion in the show's history. Anomaly is a film he directed that stars him as the lead hero and the lead villain. An evil British villain has taken over his body, and every so often he has 9 minutes and 47 seconds to be himself again, having no memory of the time that he was gone. What this means is that Noel Clarke gets to play both a streetwise hero, a posh villain, and the director and producer on the film. I say that this is the second film I've seen of his because he also did 4321, a film with 4 female leads. In 4321, we get to see the same exact day from each of the 4 economically and personality diverse protagonists' perspectives, with Noel playing a sort of working class baddie that shows up in the connecting plot. There is a posh girl going to America to make love to her rich, attractive online suitor. There is the one working at a one-stop, which is like a gas station supermarket for any Americans in the audience. There's the gay one who wears clothes that say stuff like, "I'm a vegetarian," and gets locked in a panic room with her girlfriend. And there's the quiet one that we should all be worried about. It was a bit of a fun film and I liked it, which is weird because it's a bit of a chick flick, and it's also the sort of film where the humour is stuff like a guy looking up one of the protagonist's skirts, only for the girls to beat him up, and then a Scotsman to punish him by sitting on his face. That's 4321 for you. Now, will Noel Clarke ever escape the shadow of Mickey Smith? Probably, in the eyes of any Americans in the audience who've never seen Doctor Who, or watched Noel Clarke on the Doctor Who special of Weakest Link, or watched any episodes of The Weakest Link, for that matter. Many of you might not even know what Doctor Who is, so in favour of clarifying that, Doctor Who is a British television show where an oddly dressed British person, formerly just a British man, but now with the addition of actress Jodie Whittaker, we can have just about any British person play the Doctor, and that's exciting for every female and NB fan of the show that wanted to be the Doctor instead of the Doctor's companion. You see, the Doctor, they travel through time and space, and they are almost always accompanied by a companion. And this companion is usually a 20-something woman. And sometimes, when they want to make it seem like the 20-something woman doesn't have a crush on them, they decide to throw in the 20-something woman's boyfriend. Noel Clarke played that boyfriend, and in an episode where the Doctor met back up with one of the old companions from the show, from the 1960s and such, Sarah Jane Smith, played by the late actress Elizabeth Slader, who had starred once in a TV spin-off show for kids, and her robot dog, of course, K9. In that episode, Sarah Jane Smith talked to the Doctor's current companion, and Noel Clarke's character talked to the robot dog, and he discovered that while his girlfriend Rose is the new 20-something woman, he is basically the robot dog, which fits because he is the computer-savvy hacker, and that's what the dog used to do. Anyway, that's when his character changed and grew, and decided only to show up in future episodes if he was allowed to carry a very big gun with him at all times. No, really, he has a gun with him in every episode he's in after this one. Now, why was that important to talking about the film The Anomaly? Because The Anomaly is a film where Noel Clarke gets to carry a very big gun around, and get tortured by Americans and play a posh bad guy and a lower class hero and do all of his own stunts. I loved it, but you probably shouldn't watch it, because Anomaly is a film that feels like it would be better as a science fiction short story, and I've seen a fair few films like that, but none that were quite as blatant about it as The Anomaly. Firstly, there's the plot, which is very much a science fiction short story from the 1960s. Somebody who has been losing their personality and their body and is having to recover it and solve it maybe a little bit on the way. The odd sort of 20 minutes into the future setting where life is unchanged beyond the addition of new technology, which is the weird... Well, I think this one's a bit odd because it includes genetic altering nanobots, mind control from a distance in a vague sort of Avatar sort of way. It's a bit like that, supposedly. And, well, I mean, the setting as well is a bit of a laugh because seeing Noel Clarke in any sort of science fiction setting will usually have you go, "Oh, where's David Tennant?" That David Tennant being the actor who had played the Doctor during Noel Clarke's time on the show. Well, there was Christopher Eccleston as well, but that wasn't quite as long of a tenure. But particularly when there are blimps in the sky in the exact same fashion as they were in one of Noel Clarke's episodes of Doctor Who, that's typically going to have you making a few unfair comparisons, because Noel Clarke's own work is its own work. Now, funnily enough, that's also the same episode where he has to play an eviler, meaner version of his character in this alternate universe or whatever, and that's somewhat similar to what he's doing with the posh villain in this one. Now, in Anomaly, of course, the man wakes up with no memory of what's happening, with 9 minutes and 47 seconds to live his own life in between sessions of another personality controlling him. He uses that time to uncover the mystery behind what's happening, to try and gain more information about the conspiracy that's entrapped him, and of course to try and save this poor kidnapped boy that we can identify with and be, no, not that poor kidnapped boy, whose presence in the plot is rather tangential, really. But he's got that there as this heroic goal atop of the whole freeing himself from the violent and evil personality that's taking him over. And, of course, he was suffering from PTSD from the loss of his wife when the mind-controlling dudes got him. Basically, they were testing it on washouts from the military, I believe, which was supposedly this... I think it's just meant to be a good cover story, actually. I've not watched it in a bit, but... That's the PTSD is carrying him through the film and serves as the driving motivation and the military training's basically the reason for the amazing fighting skills he has that continually put things in this dumb, slow-motion, weird camera style thing. It's this artistic thing that becomes a little repetitive, and it was awesome the first few times when it's happening almost every other fight. Well, now the love interest of the film is a prostitute that lost her first kid, and that becomes her motivation across the film because she lost her kid. Noel Clarke's character lost his wife. They're both needing a family, and when they get together they can adopt a kid. It's also great that he only had sex with her while he was under mind control, so our hero is both too pure for prostitutes but also can still be kind and courteous to prostitutes. Now Noel Clarke rescues her from that life by giving her enough money that she should be able to escape from her pimp, but she doesn't. But she does fall in love with him in the end and save him, and helps him to stop this evil conspiracy thing, and together they foil the bad guy's plot. Now, technically, there are two bad guys in this film, with one being on the poster that I mocked for this video's image, or this audio thing's image. Noel Clarke playing evil Noel Clarke, and evil Noel Clarke's sidekick. So he's playing friendly with Noel, while Noel is the bad guy, and when he thinks that Noel is the bad guy, and he's being antagonistic when he knows that Noel is back in charge of his body. He's sort of this American secret agent style bad guy, and it is always fun to have an American baddie against a British hero, because it just sounds fun having somebody try to be all sinister in American up against a bit more of a Londoner talking accent. Now, is this film any good? No, not really. But it was a real hoot to see that guy from Doctor Who playing a posh villain. Does it show that Noel Clarke is the director of this film and the star of this film and the producer? Quite a bit. You can tell he is the hero. It's sci-fi camp, but it's got that guy from Doctor Who. It's an early science fiction story, stylistically similar to that of the 1960s, complete with hookers of hearts of gold, military veterans, and clever tricks based around the core premise, like both sides trying to game the 9 minutes and 47 seconds that Noel Clarke has in charge of his body, either planning for it or finding workarounds or workarounds for the workarounds, and that leads to this neat little bit in the middle, which is almost a montage of changes back and forth, and that sort of lets us skip time ahead a little bit towards the final act. It's by no means a smart movie, but it's on par with those little science fiction short stories you always get in anthology books. And at 9 minutes and 13 seconds, that leaves us with a little bit at the time of the end here to say thank you for listening. And of course, that we will be continuing this in the future with a few more episodes about the absolutely absurd things that appear in pop culture that have no real point. The point of this is that the things are pointless. So next week's episode, well, I say next week, the next recording I will be making will be The Space Vampires. It's Lifeforce, a film where Patrick Stewart turns into a woman.